Hello and welcome. 7:30 p.m. in Iran's capital, Tehran. This is Press TV's Top 5. Mourners in Saudi Arabia's eastern province have held a funeral for the victims of Friday's terrorist attacks on two Shia mosques. The funeral was held in the town of Saihat near Dhahran. 5 people were killed in ISIL terrorist attacks and 8 others were wounded. A 16-year-old boy was among the victims. The 2 attacks happened as people gathered to commemorate Muharram ceremonies. ISIL terrorists have carried out similar attacks in the past, several months ago against Shia Muslims in Saudi Arabia. Let's see what author and Middle East affairs expert Saeb Shaath thinks. He joins us from Belfast. Saeb Shaath, if you could please tell us the relationship that exists between the Saudi regime and its central government with the eastern region, in particular when it comes to incidents like this, because we see that they lash out at the protesters there. In this case, of course, we had an unfortunate incident where the ISIL, from what we have reports, targeted these Shias at the mosques.
First of all, I would like to mention a point which is a lot of people, when they talk about the Eastern Province of Saudi Arabia, ignore. It's the richest area in Arabia with oil is the Eastern Province. And the Eastern Province population suffered a lot from exclusion from the Saudi's system, since they don't adhere to the same Sunni Wahhabi fanatic kind of ideology as the majority under control of Al Saud in Saudi Arabia. And that's why this province is targeted by the regime in different methods. Today it's targeted through terrorist attacks and abuse and jailing and torture of youngsters or activists, and the exclusion from the benefits, which filtering from the Saudi budget even through the citizen, municipalities and local authorities. Those people denied a lot of rights in this area, and that's why they gathered a lot of force in the last few years to protesting against these abuses which they are facing at the hands of the Saudis. The terror tactics in here is to silence them, is terrorize them. ISIL launched a series of deadly attacks against the Shia areas in the Dhahran area or next to it. And we as well, they targeted even the Saudi forces who try to pretend they are securing the area. If we remember in the last couple of months when they attacked the Saudi security forces. Apart from that, we noticed as well how many volunteers from these areas, from the Shia Arab Muslims in Saudi Arabia, they lack of security, lack of defending their local area. They resort to form volunteer security guards to protect their own area, their own holy sites in there. And a lot of complaints being filed against the system and the regime of the lack of facilities and forces to protect them, which is, of course, the Saudi regime denies that. This is all along, I see myself, the scenario which is happening in the East Province. It's part of it. We've seen proxy groups being formed and exported out of Saudi Arabia to Yemen, to Iraq, to Syria, to Libya, to cause mayhem, and before that to Afghanistan. Those people today, they don't 100% agree with their creators, the regime. They differ in ideology, they differ in a system. They call even the Al Saud regime is corrupt. So they think they have the monopoly on religion and truth. And that's why there will be a conflict. Some of them going to come back at Saudi Arabia, and some of them will target more the security forces and will just try to launch a sectarian war. In that sectarian war, some in the regime think it will shut up the opposition forces voices in the eastern of Arabia, like in the Dhahran region or in Atir or in other areas. And at the same time, some will think they're going to be victimized, or that can be threatening the throne of Al Saud in Arabia. But in general, Al Saud played all along from the formation of their kings until today. They can manipulate these groups and they can control them. We'll wait and see for that.
Exactly. Thank you. Saeb Shaath, Middle East Affairs expert there, talking to us from Belfast.